If your life feels a little chaotic and you feel like your environment is not supporting you super well, but you just don't have it in you to make it organized yourself, stick around because this episode's for you. Today we're talking to Miriam Ortiz y Pino, and she's got some really excellent tips and a broader view of organizing than you've probably seen before. Stay with us. Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Nourished Life for Christian Women. Got a special guest for us today. Her name is Miriam Ortiz y Pino. She is a simplicity expert and money breakthrough business coach. She's a Golden Circle member of NAPO, an instructor for NAPO University. That's the National Association for Productivity and Organization. She's very official. She's the deal. As the creator of this streamlined solution, she works with entrepreneurs and other busy creative people to create environments where you connect to the control you crave and the freedom you desire while building the life and work of your dreams. By gaining control of your time, your stuff, and your space, you get to do more of what you want. So, welcome, welcome, Miriam. I'm really excited for this conversation.
I'm really excited too. We had that chat a couple weeks ago, and I've been like, oh, I can't wait for this interview.
So now I have never had anybody talking about organization here before. And
Mhm.
I, like many listeners, probably have heard lots of different theories and everything about organization. But the
Mhm.
reason I wanted to talk to Miriam is because she takes a more meta approach to organization that I thought fits in so beautifully with really the part that that plays in having a life that's truly nourishing body
Mhm.
and soul. So, Miriam, tell us a little bit about maybe how you got started, what's your story, what led you to where you are?
Yeah, it's I could jump into the story in many places, but I happen to just be writing something about Earth Day that's coming up. I think it'll actually be after this episode airs.
Mhm.
But it reminded me that back in the 90s, I went to the 20th anniversary of Earth Day and was just looking for ways to simplify my own life and be a little more sustainable myself. And so that kind of jazzed me up to start living a simplistic life. Really conscious consumerism, paying attention to how much I used and that kind of thing. And that was kind of the first inkling I had of maybe I could actually work this into what my life's work will be. And then when I decided to move um, home to New Mexico and start my own business, I was like, okay, what's this business actually going to look like now? This is like 8 years later. And I realized every job I ever had, starting when I was 11, I had been the person that went in and organized the workspace. Like, how can you guys function in here? Let me fix it. Or you're doing it wrong. Let's do it this way. It's easier. Um, So at that point, it became kind of a no-brainer. Oh, I could be an organizer. And I found the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals and was able to figure out how to start an organizing business from there.
So now I mentioned earlier that your approach to organization is a little more meta than
Hmm.
anybody else I've known of. So talk to us a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah. So this connects back to the sustainability piece and the living simply piece. I'm really a fan of having what you need right where you need it and going on about your day. Our homes in America are so full of things we don't need, we don't use. They came as extra parts and pieces of the things we bought. And so we just throw them into a drawer, a cabinet, and go, I guess I'll keep it. Instead of deciding how you want to live, what you need to live that life, and who you want to be. What do you want your stuff to say about you? It's usually not a great match.
Oh, that's kind of funny. So you said when you said what you want your stuff to say about you, I think
Hmm.
that that kind of brings up something that somebody who's living in some kind of like disorganization or
Hmm.
that dis-ease that comes when you're not organized. There can be a shame piece in this. What has been
Yeah.
your experience with that?
There's too much shame in this world. We're all just human.
Mhm.
Things happen. We respond. We react. Sometimes things are put on us and we don't feel like we have agency to make the changes. But really, it's about how can you match what you would like, what you desire, what you really want to what you're actually living. And I think we don't spend quite enough time figuring out who and how we want to be. We just kind of take on what's put on us. And then there's a mismatch. And I think that's almost a bigger factor in disorganization than the fact that you haven't learned the process of getting organized or setting up a space.
Mhm.
Between
So,
those two, we can create the life you love.
yes. And a life having systems in place that support
Right.
you and what
Hmm.
you really actually want.
Yeah.
Um, Now, there are ADHD is a big thing for a lot of
Hmm.
people, or just not having, the organizational brain that you have. It can feel
Hmm.
so overwhelming to try to take on organizing if you're living in a disorganized way, or if you are like organized enough, but not streamlined. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that you've met with people who are resistant. So, what do you think is like the root cause of when it's just like, nah, not doing it? Or, no, I just need my space to think. I'm a creative person. I can't
Mm.
live in that kind of, talk to me about objections and resistance that you've seen, maybe in clients or in other people who haven't become clients.
Yeah. So, two things. You made that great distinction um, about people that think their space is supporting them and ADHD people who have so much going on. And it's sad to me because all of that connects back to shame. And they don't want to ask for help because for some reason we think we should be able to get organized by ourselves, even if we've never learned how. If we came from a chaotic family or a chaotic environment in our um, early years, who taught you how to set up a house? How many conversations do you have with your spouse or with other family members or roommates about what you want your environment to be like? Who's responsible for what things? We just fail to communicate and we fail to ask for help to figure it out. And so it's really sad because ADHD and many executive function or spectrum disorders or glitches need to be organized. Getting organized is the number one thing every single ADHD book will tell you. You need more clear space, more white space to allow your brain to rest and figure out what's next. And instead, they just say it's not that important or it supports me, but it's not. It's just you're used to it, it's familiar. And so I love the fact that you're bringing up, what's the resistance? It's that you have convinced yourself that it's okay to be that way. And I am not talking about perfection organizing and micro organizing and labeling every single thing. I was just talking to a client this morning about the TikTok videos that have people put individual cords into little plastic cassette things and put a label on it. Like, this is for my iPad and this is for my phone. And that's micro. That's ridiculous. Just throw your cords in a drawer. But have only the cords you need for the devices you use and rotate them out when you get rid of one and buy a new one. Um, so it's really about just shame is a hard one. I get why there's shame. I've been ashamed of certain things in the past. And then you realize one day, oh, that's my reaction to it. It's just something that happened. I can now move on and choose to be a different kind of person. I can learn from that experience and move forward. And I think that's what goes into organizing. the first step is just saying, I can live differently if I want. And start with something small. Maybe it's just clearing your dining room table so you can eat dinner sitting down every night. Maybe it's clearing off the vanity in the bathroom so you can actually do your makeup instead of, getting your eyelashes stuck on the mirror. I
So
don't know.
a couple of questions. The
Yeah.
that I so how like what are some questions that you would ask a person? How can somebody like find out what their organizational needs are? What's
Mhm.
their style? Because some people are going to go, yes, little cassettes for my chords. That just is that like, and other people like you're gonna go, are you kidding? That's a little
Mhm.
much, you know.
Yep.
As long as I have it in
So,
the drawer and I know what chord it is and I know where it is, I'm good. So are there questions that you can ask or maybe that people could ask themselves that help them
mhm.
figure out that
Yeah.
their own organizational style?
Yeah, I actually used a framework I call the 5 Ds. It doesn't mean anything except I came up with a cool alliteration thing. Um, but we start with the big picture. What's your dream? If you had to think about it, which TV character, movie character, environment, friend's house, grandma's house, whose environment do you love? Do you feel great in? Have you been to a resort that just had a vibe that made you go, ah? Think about what you want. Like, what would you like? What does a home mean to you? How does it feel? For some people, it's going to be cozy clutter. For some people, it's going to be ultra modern industrial sleek, right? Neither of those have anything to do with being organized. And so, understanding that you're trying to create a feeling in your house is the first step. And then you start chunking it down. Um, I have so dream, and then we declutter. And before you even think about what container you might want or what organization looks like to you, you go through and eliminate all the junk from your life, all the things that no longer match who this person you want to be is.
Okay, that's the easier said than done part, right?
Hmm. But you do it in layers. So you start with expired coupons and old pizza boxes, and you end up with which of these 12 pairs of scissors do I love more than the others? Which one do I always grab? Do I need 12? Do I need four? Do I need one? Right? You start narrowing it down with the easy stuff first. And always, always put all the memorabilia, family photos, history stuff into its own pile in the corner until you finish setting up daily living. Because that is its own project. And it's so much easier once you've practiced making decisions on things like mismatched socks and 12 pizza cutters and things like that.
That's 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 a great way to approach that.
Well, people always start with, I'm going to do the photos. And it's like the biggest nightmare project to start with because you don't have enough information yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the practice. You're already practiced, you're in the mode. I had
Hmm.
a friend once who I was just shocked and in awe. She was like, you know what? I'm done with this. And it was actually, I think it was after she divorced. And she
Hmm.
just rented a dumpster, put it in the driveway, and
Hmm.
just started throwing things in. And, the part of me that's like, somebody could use that. There's nothing wrong with it. Was just like, oh no.
Mm.
Because it's like, no, we need to donate. We need to donate. But sometimes that can get to be a hang up where it's like, I'm not going to donate this. Just throw it
Right.
away, let it have fulfilled its purpose in your life, and therefore it fulfilled its purpose, and let it go. Yes, maybe
Hmm.
somebody could use it, but in reality, I'm not going to get it to that person. So just being willing to let go. And her fearlessness
Hmm.
in letting go of things was just amazing to me.
I'm all for donating, but I think we have this misconception of just because you donate something, someone can use it. And there's discernment involved. And I love just donating to Goodwill because at least here in New Mexico, they support a variety of charities off the top before it even goes into the shops and things. And the number of people, though, that get hung up of wanting to get it to the exact right person or the exact right charity
Mhm.
that will fulfill all their weird visions of how the world works can be a deterrent to actually getting the job done. And for your friend that rented a dumpster, I think especially at divorce time, there is a need to heal that, any wounds that are coming up, understand the dynamics of the relationship to help you move on and have a better one later. The physical throwing away and yelling about it or, just physically tossing can be so healing. I don't know how to explain it, but
Mhm.
it can really feel good
It's
to
a
let the
release.
anger out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
so
that,
I'm all for that if you are capable of doing that. If not, by all means, trash, recycle, donate, sell. But know that that takes longer and
mhm.
requires more work. And if you're overwhelmed, maybe it's easier to let go and start fresh. And from here forward, take care of the trash and recycling and donating in a better fashion.
Yeah, get a system in place for that too, as part of your organization system.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that kind of leads me to the another question I wanted to ask, which is um, maybe tell us some either first of all your experience and maybe some things that you've seen with some clients that you've had, the difference between before
Hmm.
coming up with a system that really works for you and then afterward. What is like what's the end goal? What are we holding on to here to work toward when we're making all these millions of decisions that make us want to quit?
Right. So we already talked about how you dream and you declutter, and then you design a system. And the system, when you work with me, comes through how you made those decisions. What I watched you set down and where you set it and how you categorized things and those kinds of things goes into the system. It gives me hints about where and what should go together in your environment. But it also has that you got to develop some habits. And if you're the kind of person, okay, so how to put this? We often get organized or organize on someone else's timeline or what their idea is. So the easiest way to describe it is if you have a problem with your people in your house leaving dirty laundry all over the place, put the laundry hamper where they get undressed. I don't care if it's in the corner of the bedroom or in half blocking the doorway to the bathroom. You get them to build the habit of putting the clothes in the hamper by putting it in their way for a while, right? And
Yeah.
then you move on to the next step. It's not about, well, everyone has to carry their clothes to the laundry room and put it in the sorter and move their bins out of a thing that's a rotation and no, just get it in a hamper to start. Like
Make it
start where
as
you
easy to throw
are.
in the hamper as on the floor.
Right. And yeah, that reminds me though, start picking up little mantras that help you remember to do the things. So, takes just as much time to put it in the hamper as it does to put it on the floor. If I don't put my keys on this hook when I come in the door, my car will explode. It's a little trick called ridiculous memory. And if you make something absurd or tied to a deep emotion, so my kids will, or I will love my kids more if they put their clothes in the hamper, will help you remember that you need to communicate with your children to put the clothes away, right? Like there's little things, either absolutely absurd or tied to a deep emotion, can help you remember to do things while you're developing habits and give you micro things to do. You don't start by organizing the entire garage in one day. You start by saying, I should break down the recyclable boxes so I can maybe pull the car in here tomorrow. Right? You start with the easy stuff.
That's always a good place to start.
Yeah.
Always a good place to start.
You're better off by organizing one pen jar and then, cleaning it out of all the pens that don't work. So you have a spot to receive all the pens you find around the house over the next few weeks, right? That's going to take care of a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
because you made the decision that pens will now live in this giant pencil cup or whatever.
Well, and that's just so funny because how often do we go, that one doesn't work and stick it back in the thing and pull out another thing?
Oh, I have clients go a little bit apoplectic at me for testing the pens. They're like, don't waste your time on that. I'm like, it's not wasting time if I'm creating space for you to put the pens that work. And then they're
And
like,
now
oh,
every time you pick up a pen, it'll be working.
and I can do it while you're doing decisions that I can't make, like your paperwork, or, I can be there to guide you while I'm doing this part. So,
Yes. So, speaking of guiding, you
mhm,
had a little free offer for anybody who wants to claim that, and that there will
mhm,
be a how to access that will be in the episode description. So if you want that from Miriam, you
mhm.
can go there to find out how to get it. But tell us a little bit about that,
Yeah, so I think I offered them
the
declutter
master class.
masterclass.
Mhm.
I have several freebies, people. Go check out my website, morethanorganized.net. It has a whole page of freebies and then a whole page of discounted things you can get. So that's a place to start. But the declutter masterclass is kind of the big how to make decisions about what to keep and my methodology for making it as fast as possible.
Nice.
Yeah. It's all
Just
good.
in the spring here.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be all at once. Do the baby steps, the little pieces, because, but honor when you've done an area. That's now set. Not for eternity, but until you finish the declutter step of the process. And then you go back and say, do I have pen cup on both ends of the house? Do we need just one or do we still need two? You do the fine tuning after
Uh,
you do the major declutter.
Wait, we don't just get to do this once and be set for the rest of our whole lives, Miriam?
No, but if you get the steps down, it's an easy, repeatable process for when you move, when you switch jobs, when the kids leave, when other people come into your life, whatever it is, any change in life circumstances allow you to adapt the system easily because it's still going to be the same steps. It might just live on the other side of the room or behind that other door, right? It's
Yeah.
but it's still the same mental mindset of how to be an organized person.
Hmm.
You don't get organized and forget about it. You have to become an organized person, which is not the same thing. Many organized people are not very neat, but their system works for them. I have
That's
a,
a good distinction.
yeah, I have one client, hates to file, but has to keep track of their bills for taxes, right? So we set up and they had this attic room. It's the coolest home office I've ever seen. But they have a dormer window that they had stuck like this craft table kind of thing under. It's an old farm table. It's beautiful. But they stuck it into the dormer. So you can't use the whole table exactly, but they used it for their system for keeping track of their tax records. So they got a big river rock and every month they'd pay their bills and they would just put that month's bill on top of the pile and put the rock on top of it. And then at the end of the year, they have all their documents in one pile in semi chronological order because you're just adding to the top. You're not like rifling through and changing the order of them.
Yeah.
You just put it on top. Easiest system I ever heard of. It's fantastic. And it
Yeah.
looks cool in the meantime. It's got this gorgeous rock on top of it. And people are always like, what are you doing over there on that part of the table? And it's like, that's my filing system. Okay.
I've definitely never heard of a filing system like that, and that sounds crazy workable.
Isn't it easy? Like you don't end up with 20 piles, you end up with one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that example of creative and making a
Yeah.
system that fits you.
Exactly.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. So you mentioned that your website is more than organized, and that's basically I can tell you because I Googled it earlier to make
Mhm.
sure that if you just type in, if you want to find Miriam and connect with her, just type in more than organized. It'll take you to her website, to Facebook,
Mhm.
Instagram, all the places she is.
YouTube. I've got a great YouTube channel, y'all. All my best stuff is on YouTube.
Oh, there you go. So you can find Miriam and get the encouragement that you need. So Miriam, are is there anything else? I have my one favorite question I'm going to ask you in a minute, but
Yeah.
before I do that, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up that you thought might be helpful or just kind of an overall idea
Mhm.
or just any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think the other thing about being an organized person is you realize you know where the things you own are and where they go. So even if your whole family gets sick or you got to deal with some sort of emergency, you are able to return to where you left off fairly easily and reset your space in so little time compared to what your brain tells you it's going to take. Because everything has a home and you know where it goes and why you have it and how you use it.
Nice. So, my final favorite question. In your opinion, Miriam, what are one, two, or three of your top things that you think are essential to having a life that's truly nourishing body and soul?
Oh, I think it's setting up your space the way you like it. And I would go farther and say the way you love it
Mm.
and that supports and nurtures you. Because I think our homes need to be that foundation of nurturing support so that we can do the things we love to do.
So,
Instead of it needs to be someone else's idea of what that is.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I got a follow-up question because of what you said.
Yeah.
So it, do you think that it's possible? Because I know a lot of people think, well, I just need more room. I just need more space. So, but is our ability, is it kind of just a blanket statement that it is possible that the space that we're in, even if we're just renting a room in somebody's house, that we
Mhm.
can make that space fill our soul
Yes.
because of how we have it set up and organized?
Yeah. I used to live in 485 square feet for 10 years, and it was
Wow.
more than enough space to live the life I wanted to live.
Wow.
Um, and so if you think of your house as the limiter, this is how much space I have to work with. What am I going to curate out to fit in the space? When you are pouring a glass of milk and you get to the top of the glass, do you keep pouring or do you stop pouring and take a sip so you have enough room for the cookie?
But what if I want more milk than that?
You
You
then
gotta
you drink some
take some
and
out.
then you fill it back up. You don't just keep pouring so it's all over the floor and all over the I'm so gonna make this video one day, but it's so funny to me that people call me. That's one of the most often asked things. I just need more room. Well, I'm not in construction. I can't go build onto your house. What I can do is clean out the porch so you realize you do have room for the other furniture so your kid can have this other room as the nursery and you don't have to spend $32,000 transferring the porch into a nursery, right? Like,
Yes.
let's look at things a little differently. Just because something is there and has been there for 30 years doesn't mean you have to keep it there forever. Rearrange it, mix it up, try a different room, try a different piece of furniture. Maybe you don't need a dresser. I don't have a dresser. I use my grandmother's buffet from the
Oh,
dining room because it was a gorgeous set and I got that piece and I didn't have room in my I don't have a dining room. So I was like, what do I do with it? Oh, it's my dresser now.
cool. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here and appreciate your all of your insights and the hope. Oh, and you do, I'm assuming, with the technology we have available today, you work with people remotely too, right?
I do. I
Okay,
was one
cool,
of the
cool.
very first people in the country that did virtual organizing. And so I'm kind of proud of that. I was on
Yeah.
Zoom before COVID, let's put it that way.
Wow, way
Um,
back then.
way back when in the olden days. Um, but yes, I can work virtually with people. And it's really
Wonderful.
fun, actually.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, ma'am. Appreciate you being here and sharing all your great insights and your piece of the puzzle for creating a life that's truly nourishing body and soul. See you next week. If today's episode or any other has resonated with you, I wanted you to know that I offer a free 30-minute call. If you'd like to schedule that, you can find the details for how to do that in the description for this episode. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe.